he's like, you could be having $250,000 months in the future. And I was like, this guy's out of his damn mind, like $250,000 months. My name is Jack Courage Dunlop. I am a professional Call of Duty caster.
Right now, Slide tries to search forward accuracy, holding a different angle.
It was a no-brainer to have my opportunity at MLG. It just changed my life forever.
Being a caster for, 10 years before that almost? That must have been one of the coolest moments ever for, at peak Fortnite, World Cup.
It might be time for the Shockwave play. For the first game victory royale!
Personally, I think I'm the best Fortnite caster of all time still. Best at storytelling, best at building the hype.
There's like some controversy apparently from you.
A narrative gets built out by one of the players involved in it.
This might be the play. It's time to Shockwave up.
I'm CouRageJD. I just threw Creo's World Cup because he could hear it through the speakers.
I'm so sick of the internet.
Can you share what Facebook offered?
Over 8 figures. I'm not telling Chipotle how to make their burritos. Don't tell me how to get you views, right? And I technically got fired from the event after the Fortnite World Cup for yelling Max.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I just want to give you guys a heads up before the episode starts. We are officially on Spotify and Apple Music for all the people asking. You can check out the links in the description. And also for anybody that used to watch my gaming videos, I'm actually launching a gaming channel in the description. Check it out. All right, Courage, what's good? How you doing?
I'm good, bro. Thank you for having me. I'm
Thank
excited.
you for coming. I appreciate it. You're just telling me how busy your life has been the last few weeks. So I appreciate you taking time and sitting.
No.
I'm excited. We had Cypher on.
Yeah.
Excited to have you, one of the other top, and had Ninja. Can't forget Ninja, another top Fortnite creator. But you have a very extensive past where we've crossed paths in Call of Duty. And, I was just telling you, I think it's very interesting. You got like two audiences, right? You got like the older Call of Duty audience.
Yeah.
You got a lot of the newer Fortnite audiences. So excited to talk about that. Before all that, though, I just want to talk about Jack, Courage. And And you've shared your family a lot on your social media. I mean, I can picture your whole family. I know what your family looks like. I can literally see them in my head.
My dad's a big boy.
Yeah,
my dad's a big boy.
You guys look so similar. I can see your whole family, and like I always go to Yankees games, and I see stuff like that all the time on my Twitter. So you always share your family, but can you give a little background of your childhood, how you grew up, what your family was like, where you lived, all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, first, so excited to be here. I mean, you're crushing with this, and excited to see you back on your creative journey because I know you and I have been around for pretty similar amount of time in certain ways. I might not have been always a YouTube creator in this, but as a caster, we always would see each other at events and stuff. So to see you back at it and on this, I'm excited for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
But no, I mean, it began all the way back in the very beginning with playing video games, playing Nintendo growing up. I got my first one as the N64 from my grandma on Christmas. And that kind of changed my life. I was the type that had a lot of older cousins to look up to, and they would play Super Nintendo, like Duck Hunt and the original Super Mario Brothers. And I know I say Mario weird. I don't want to hear it. It's the Jersey side of me.
I didn't say anything.
But they would be the one. I would be the one that they'd hand the controller to that was unplugged, and I'd pretend like I was playing when I was like 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So I always had a love for games, and then I got my first Xbox 360. And that was where I got Xbox Live and was playing all sorts of stuff. SmackDown versus Raw 2007.
Oh,
and things
2008
like
was
there you
mine
go,
on the
there you go.
PSP?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I obviously had consoles between that. Like I had the N64, the GameCube, and things, and the PS2 and things like that. But kind of to save a bunch of time, I then really just got the Xbox 360 is where things really kicked off for me. That's where I gained 40 pounds in a couple of years, and it took over my life. And then Halo 3 came out, which is what really changed everything for me. I played a lot of Halo 2 towards the end of its life cycle. But the release of Halo 3 was what made everything kind of take over from my end. And look, MLG way back in the day, going to my first event, MLG Meadowlands 2009, and then got my first opportunity as an intern at MLG through the friendships I made playing Halo and StarCraft 2. If you remember way back from MLG days, StarCraft started to take over the pro circuit, and all the Halo pros were like, what is this game taking over? And I basically was the only person who followed them on Twitter that actually played. And I was like, yo, I'll teach you how to play because I had started playing 6 months prior. So I was getting them in Skype calls. And here I am like 15 years old. And they're like all 18 to 22 at the time.
This is a big difference.
Yeah. At that time it is. Yeah. And but thankfully, my parents always like raised me well. And I felt like I've always been mature for my age. So I kind of blurred the lines a bit there, I would say. And made a lot of connections there, one of which was Chris Puckett. And he gave me an opportunity to become an intern at MLG. And then started casting because he was going to be out sick one day. We were going to cancel our daily show that we were prepping for. And I just told the production team, I was like, I think I can host it. Then I hosted it with him, and then hosted it 40 more times. Went back to school, and then he rang me to start casting the Advanced Warfare Open, which we were just talking about prior to going live. Was an event that FaZe won. It was an incredible event, and the rest was history from there.
Yeah, that is crazy how you got there. Like even from a Twitter, following someone on Twitter, having that confidence, be like, hey, I'll teach you the game.
I mean, it's a lot of what Banks is doing now, like
Yeah.
with getting these Twitter guys that are so rabid and excited about what the new FaZe is and what you guys are doing. That to me, I'd rather work with someone who's incredibly passionate. You know, that's how I hired Swappa, my first editor, who still works for me. He was making funny memes about me, Ninja, Tim the Tabman, and Lupo, and I literally just cold DM'd him, followed him and cold DM'd him. Was like, do you have a job? He's like, no. I'm like, are you 18? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you want to work with me? I could pay you $1,000 a month. I was making $62 off of YouTube at that time, and it worked out from there.
Yeah, wow. I'm excited to talk to you because even when I was preparing too, it was like you had a lot of moments where you made some pretty big decisions that are not easy decisions, and it continued to pay off, thankfully. But you know, to get to that point, to be confident to make it, I'm interested in hearing what your life was before all that you just mentioned. So, I mean, if you started at 15, you didn't have much. Like I started YouTube at 14.
Yeah,
so I have no experience prior to FaZe, prior to being a YouTuber. For yourself, I mean, I know you have one sister, right?
Yep.
Do you have any other siblings?
No, just one sister.
And you grew up in Jersey?
Yeah.
Who were you before gaming? Before we get into the MLG and the casting, did you? I know you like baseball, like myself.
Oh yeah,
You're a Yankees fan. But what was your childhood like? What jobs did you have before? If you had any hobbies, stuff like that.
No, I mean, from back then, I was all in on just sports. I played baseball year round. I played soccer. Wasn't good, but I played soccer. I was kind of like I'd kind of pop game breaker. I'd go in for like 2 minutes, use all my energy, and then they'd pull me out of the game. But like for those 2 minutes, you'd lock down defense, you know?
Secret weapon.
Yeah, that was it. And then basketball, again, once height started coming to things, I was out. You lost me. But prior to that, I was all about a 3-point shooter, things like that, which was so much fun. From the rest of it, it was video games. It was hanging out with friends. You know, we'd play airsoft a bit here and there when I was starting to get into middle school and high school. But then really high school, my dad sat me down in the end of freshman year when I was playing baseball, and I would have made varsity the year after, but he kind of let me know, like, look, Jack, I love you. What I do and everything, I'm unfortunately not able to get you a car when you're 17. So if you want to have your own car, you're going to need to work for it. And with that, I just knew, like, I'm done with baseball. Like, I want my own car. I want the freedom. So I started doing a bunch of different things. One, I was a camp counselor at my camp in the local town for the month of July to August. And I started out as just a base camp counselor, and over 5 years went from camp counselor, assistant grade counselor, head grade counselor, head of events, and then assistant camp director was like my 5 years while being there into my freshman year of college. And then because I was a camp counselor, I began babysitting. Had a kind of smart plan where I went and got a CPR certified, because if you were CPR certified, you could actually charge a bit more for babysitting. So I would do camp counseling, babysitting, then during the summers and those months, I would mow 4 to 5 lawns a weekend. And then I also worked at my uncle's landscaping business at times. Like I literally was cleaning toilets and stuff. And then finally, during the school year, after school, I would head to my elementary school that I went to. They had an after-school program with the kids whose parents are working. So that would give me my job from like 3 to 6 p.m. each day.
Wow.
So I was doing a lot of different things.
You grinded. I mean, so you decided on your own to stop something you loved in baseball and literally take on all that work and just grind. I mean, your dad must be a grinder, no?
Oh, I learned my work ethic. My dad was a plumber his whole life.
Okay.
I was blessed to be able to help retire him back in January.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. So it's been great to see him more. And I learned my work ethic from him, from my Uncle Chuck, and then my grandfather was a really successful businessman. And unfortunately, at a young age, he had a stroke. But he lived through the stroke and was paralyzed on the right side of his body and lost his speech ability to speak. But from how successful he was in his 20s, 30s to early 40s, the money he had earned and the investments he had made took care of not only him, my grandma, their 5 kids, but they also lived a very nice lifestyle too. Wow. So that was a big motivation for me, and still is today. I've got his old like pipe that he would kind of smoke when he would do like his business deals. Like I don't smoke or anything like that, but I have it next to my bedside as like just a reminder of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Okay, so you did a lot of these different jobs.
Yep.
Were some of these during the time where you reached out to Puckett on Twitter? Or was this did it cross over? Or what was the point where you decided, no, I'm going to go into casting. I'm going to stop all this stuff on the side?
Yeah, I had been at school, and Puckett and I had stayed connected that he knew I was at School for Media and Film. And I reached out to him and wished him a happy birthday. And when I wished him a happy birthday, summer was kind of coming up. I think actually Puckett's birthday's coming up in the next week. And he just said, hey, I know you're doing what you're doing. I need an intern. I can't pay you, but do you want to come be an intern with me? And I was like, I will gladly lose money to go work at a place that I want to work at.
Yeah.
And that gave me an invaluable experience. At that time, I was already kind of in college, and I'd bankrolled enough from high school that I wasn't sweating my normal kind of summer jobs or this or that, or I was kind of out on being the camp counselor at that point or camp director at that time. For me, it was a no-brainer to have my opportunity at MLG. It just changed my life forever.
And whoever doesn't know MLG, especially Chris Puckett at the time,
Oh,
was
yeah.
like top of the what's the phrase I'm looking for?
Food chain.
Top of the food chain, exactly.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
running Call of Duty. They're running esports. Puckett is a legend. That's really cool that you got to not only get an internship and job to work there, but you kind of were put under his wing in some ways.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
like,
No, I owe it all to him for that start.
That's an amazing person to be able to kind of learn from. So again, you had a very unique approach. I think I don't think I'm going to have any other guest probably on the show that was a caster.
Yeah.
Or that started at least in the route as a caster. Everyone wants to be a content creator. Everyone wants to be a streamer nowadays specifically too.
Yep.
What made you want to go that route as being a caster versus being your own creator? I know you were creating content at some point during your casting years, but
Yeah, I have some privated videos on my YouTube channel from when I was uploading in the Black Ops 2 era. I was doing live commentaries. I'd matched with Big Timer Will in Black Ops 2 League play, and I did like a cut com to it.
yeah.
So I definitely had goals and aspirations then, but I think it's important to know when you're starting off, when other things are taking priority. I think I always tell people that want to become a creator, you can't just drop everything or else you'll burn out. You have to be honest with yourself, in my opinion. And I was honest with myself at that time that, look, school was taking priority. These other jobs were taking priority. I hadn't become a caster or anything yet. This was just as a fan of it. That when I started to become a caster and I realized, wait, I can use my media and film degree in this, I had a big leap I took leaving school mid-senior year to go and be a commentator for ESL for the first year of the Call of Duty World League, which was Black Ops 3, which in my opinion is still the best Call of Duty ever.
Best ever.
Yeah, come on now. And for me, it was a big leap because I was moving across country. I was leaving my family, moving to Burbank, California. They were all on the East Coast. I was leaving my best friends, everything I knew in college. Didn't get to have my final send-off semester sort of thing. And then I went to the dean of the college and basically did a presentation on why I should be able to get credit for what I'm going to do in applying my degree for being a caster. And thankfully, Taos University, the dean there, gave me 9 bonus credits for like an extended internship to go work. And then I was able to finish my degree online. I only needed 3 classes instead of like 6, which would have taken me multiple years. So when I became a caster, my full-time salary in Burbank was very much not enough to live off of for the apartments I had and if I wanted to go home and see my family and all this. So I knew I needed to have supplemental stuff on the side. And at that point, I had about 15,000 followers on Twitter from the amount of years of freelance I'd done in the past a couple of years. I just knew I had to leverage that audience in any way I could. So the day I moved out to California was when I started my first stream, January 1st, really, 2016. So this upcoming January will be 10 years.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's been 10 years since 2016.
Yeah.
Wow. So when I was looking at I know you said you had some private videos, which makes sense because
Yep.
there was like a year gap.
Yeah.
I saw it like around Black Ops 3 is when it looks like your content really started taking off.
Yep.
Before that, I mean, there was a year gap, so maybe private videos in between, but you had about 1,000 to 4,000 views a video.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, in 2016, I think, exactly, Black Ops 3, you started getting around 20 or 50,000 views, I'd say, on average. A video.
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened? Because I know I'm sure you have some sort of recollection of when something clicked for the first time.
Yep.
What caused that massive spike? Do you remember how it felt? In that moment, did you think, okay, I want to go straight into content creation? Or was the casting still something that was a passion of yours that you wanted to continue? Or because again, at that, you were making casting content before that.
Yeah.
From what I saw. Then you started doing a little more of your own kind of at-home content. Not
Exactly.
Really, you were doing a lot of vlogs at events, reviewing events, but it started really popping off when I saw you doing your own stream highlights and stuff like that.
100%. Yeah. I mean, the great titles of Stream Highlights 32 was really banging.
It was easy. Yeah.
No, I mean, back then YouTube was a bit different. And I think what worked out for me was that there was such a want for more content. And I was one of the people that helped fulfill that. I was getting hate from players for leveraging the audience that we had while casting and making money on the side and getting views on the side versus the players getting it. Meanwhile, these players didn't want to stream after things were done. They didn't stream scrims. They didn't play wagers on stream. I was really the one that was going live with the personality and getting eyes on on Call of Duty outside of competitive matches.
Yeah.
And that just, it was like there was just a massive hole that no one was fulfilling. Then I started to do things like the Bot World League, where I would literally just commentate over bots facing off against each other.
I watched a clip of that. That was hilarious.
Yeah, and that
that's
really,
a cool idea.
I think that really took my stream from like, he's just a caster to like, wait, this guy's actually funny in my opinion. So I started to do that. And then I was playing wagers with other pro players. And next thing you know, Call of Duty kind of team recognized the success my channel was having. And at the end of my first year of casting for Black Ops 3 full time, they actually used my streaming platform as like the COD Champs promotional show. They were like, let's have Jack host with Maven, Mr. X, and Revan on his channel. We'll give him a budget for giveaways and this. And you guys just talk and do like basically like a podcast promoting the thing. And it had a few thousand views. And I remember being like, wow, I went from being like a top 6 caster in that year to the start of the next year being the face of casting with Maven for the next iteration of Call of Duty.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, again, you notice when, especially a caster.
Yeah.
First off, it is probably such a difficult job, and you guys, I think it's one of the most important things for sports in general, not just, let alone Call of Duty. But you guys' personality you bring, obviously, same thing for Counter-Strike. There's some legendary casters that, like, you know, Anders and Semler, I think their names are. They're like, Counter-Strike, when you think Counter-Strike, you think of their voices.
Oh, yeah.
Your voice became that for Call of Duty, especially the recent years. That used to be maybe Fwiz and Puckett, and, you know, they kind of passed the baton. But for you to do that, very impressive. Again, I can imagine that I can imagine the hate that you got from some people. You mentioned players, not to hate on any players, but I know it goes against their nature to try to make content. That's always something that we saw too at FaZe. Like, you know, we've always been content first. We've always pushed people to make content
OpTic
too.
as well. And I know 100 Thieves has helped build off, you know, been built off that too.
And it's like, look at Scump, for example, right?
Yep.
There's a reason Scump's Scump. It's because he always did that. And Nate, same thing, right? So, but still, not everyone is comfortable doing that, and it's very easy to hate. But I love that you just pushed through. Yeah. And you just kept making content. You took that role and you ran with it. It was really impressive. How fast you scaled from just an intern to the face of the Call of Duty League, like you said.
Thank you.
And then I think what's even more impressive is what happens when Fortnite comes out. Yeah. Because you just built up all of this. Yeah. You got this audience. You became the face of this game. Then, you know, I mean, maybe it's a little dramatic to say you just left overnight. I don't know how quickly when you started making Fortnite content, so you really breaking away from the COD League and casting. So I'd like you to fill me in, but explain what happened when Fortnite came out.
Yeah. So, I mean, at that point, I was the top caster for Call of Duty alongside Maven and really had a stable and very successful job living in New York City, because 8 months after moving to Burbank, the job moved back to MLG in New York City. And I took another leap. At that point, I kind of had a few leaps in my life that you mentioned where I made these sacrifices. And the next one that came in was taking the leap of no longer being a caster to being a full-time creator. And I viewed it as, I'm loving what I'm doing is casting, but this game Fortnite just came out. I played it the day it came out. I think it was September 26, 2017. I downloaded it. Immediately fell in love with what the game was, the cartoony style of it, the thrill of winning, and the intensity of it. And, you know, with that, I would finish casting, or when I was casting at events, all I would think about was streaming Fortnite. When I would get home, all I'd want to do is play Fortnite. The thing that starts any streamer with being successful is being passionate and having fun with what you're doing. And I was finding that my fun and enjoyment of Call of Duty was dwindling, because at that time it was Call of Duty World War II, and it was just the most depressing and horrible Call of Duty game ever. And
it looks so, it hurts to watch, right?
Oh, dude, I was commentating Ardennes Forest CTF, and it's like a 20-minute CTF would happen, and then like it would end in a tie, and we'd have to replay the whole map. And like one Ardennes Forest would take like 35 minutes to cast. And
I don't even know what that map is. That's how bad.
It's so bad. Yeah. And dreary with snows and trees. That's it. Yeah. And I remember just being like, I would love to try to push this streaming thing more. I think I had 1,000 subs on Twitch. And an opportunity had come up where OpTic at the time was kind of when Hector had his whole issues with OpTic. One of the things that Hector and I think them were agreed on was like, let's try to bring in Jack as a creator. And I joined OpTic, and they had, or they had offered me to join OpTic with still my MLG salary, be in their videos, and just take a leap with them. Like, come down to Texas. We'll pay for your living. You'll do this full time and help us keep making OpTic be great, or, you know, be a fresh face in OpTic. And it was always a dream.
While you're still working at MLG.
I would have left MLG to do that. And for me, being part of OpTic was the dream, you know? And so I had a lot of tough nights thinking about it for a couple of weeks. And then I told Maven about it. When I told Maven, who was the co-caster with me, my best friend at the time, we were living together. And when I told him the details of it, he was like, I will hate you forever if you don't do this. Like, this is the greatest opportunity you could ask for. And once I heard that, I knew it was kind of time to take the leap. And one of the biggest blessings that could happen was when I went in, there was like Miami or something was like an event 2 weeks after I was telling, or like 6 weeks or something. Basically, there was a timeline where it was like, you give people 2 week notice.
Yeah.
I went in and told like the boss at MLG at that time, I'll finish out this whole stage, like 6 weeks, and then I'm gonna go and join OpTic. And I don't know what it was at that time. Maybe it was a frustration. I don't know what, but I basically got told like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Don't even come to the event in 2 weeks. And I was like, for a second, I was like, I'm kind of taken back by that. Like,
Yeah.
I was gonna give them 6 weeks of like heads up.
Yeah.
But it was the best thing that could happen because I'm like, I was freed up to get into Fortnite right as it was about to hit like season 3 and it was about to just go nuclear, or the end of season 2 and kind of go nuts. I think it was season 3. So I moved down to Texas, had about 1,000 subs, shared with my audience the news, went live, and it was my full-time thing. And at that point I had 60,000 subs on YouTube, and I was like, I'm going for this. And went down there, hired Swappa, dropped a merch drop, and we just went for it.
So do you think that your boss at MLG, was that like similar to Maven's reaction? Do you think it was something similar where he was like, this is what's best for you? Or do you think it was more of like an angry thing?
It's been so long now that the only thing that I really remember is being like a little bit taken back of like, wow, they're just sort of like, don't even worry about it. Like, and I in that time, what I remember is it not being like no, we want what's best for you.
Yeah.
Take the
reason I'm asking is because OpTic was the biggest team at the time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, that's an interesting leap to make from one of your casters casting the biggest team to join the team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's many ways to look at that. I mean,
no, I definitely, I took it as like a bit of a slight at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's from a caster's perspective, I can't imagine you really ever expected to ever join OpTic.
No,
it's like you're casting Scump and Nade and
100%
Merc and maybe in Black Ops 2 times, and the other dynasties and all these teams, and to go from that to joining the team must have been an insane jump. So what was that like? How did they ask you? I know you mentioned you kind of you breezed over it, but I'm sure, what was that like when they're like, you want to join OpTic?
Well, Reed from Night Media was actually at OpTic at that time. Reed was MrBeast manager for years. Yeah, so he was actually at OpTic at that time, and he was one I was doing the calls with. He was incredibly understanding of my situation, wanted me to be comfortable. And I remember having like a slight disagreement over like, I think it was like $10,000 that I wanted for a certain thing or something like that. And Reed was one of the ones that was just kind of like, Jack, I love you, bro. I'm excited for your future. But like, if this is enough to make you not take this leap now, like, he's like, you could be having $250,000 months in the future. And I was like, this guy's out of his damn mind, like $250,000 months. And then I remember when I had my first $250,000 month, I was like, holy, he was right. And I can't believe I almost didn't take this leap because I was arguing over something like that. Like, I just had to go for it. So they'd offered it to me, and I moved down to the apartment complex where everyone was. They had a place for me there. And in that year I was part of OpTic, the 9 months I was part of OpTic prior to joining 100 Thieves, because OpTic kind of had their own issue, and I'm sure you had the Hector episode, and he went down that whole rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I landed joining OpTic, and in the time I flew, all the OpTic members that I was excited to be part of blacked out all their social medias in protest to the new owners of OpTic, threatening to drop the Call of Duty team, if I'm not mistaken it was, or the Halo team.
So you joined at like the worst time.
The worst time.
It's the same thing for a lot of FaZe members. I literally feel bad for some FaZe members that joined. I'm just like, dude, you just joined at it's just bad time. It's just bad luck.
Yeah.
Bad time. But you made content with Hex.
Well, I did, yeah. Because it wasn't, certain things got settled and content kept going. But I remember my first night I actually teared up. Like, I got there and I called my mom and I was like, did I just make the worst mistake ever? OpTic's like,
falling apart.
Yeah. And I then learned the severity over the next few months that I'm sure Hector talked about, and where he was at. And I think I remember seeing a clip of him being like, I was almost just out fully, And when I heard that, I knew, I was just at the start for me. And every month was an exponential growth. And I was like, the biggest kind of black hole in my life at that time was like the situation of OpTic.
And you're in a different state in Texas.
And I'm in Texas, which I hated being in Texas, and a place that I never want to go back to from a living perspective. It just sucked the soul out of me.
Really?
That from my end, I was like, man, it just became apparent that I needed to figure out what my next avenue was and at that time, Matt had already approached me prior to joining OpTic, prior to even growing in Fortnite, to join 100 Thieves, or right at the start of me starting with Fortnite, to join 100 Thieves. But at that time, Matt didn't really know what 100 Thieves was going to be, and I didn't really know what I was going to be.
Yeah.
So at this time now, I'm already on this upward trajectory. I knew I wanted to get out to LA. There were so many opportunities out in LA. Nadeshot was really starting to catch a stride with the 100 Thieves stuff. They obviously had the house. I moved to OpTic in March 2018, and then was fully living in the 100 Thieves house in March 2019.
Wow. So You left. You said you were OpTic for 9 months. So you
Yeah, I was in
left around
OpTic for about
December.
9 months. The final 3 months of it was out of OpTic, and thankfully, the people at OpTic at the time, I've always been the type in work, and I'm sure you feel this way too. I always want the people I work with, no matter if I see them for one day, if they're freelance, full-time job, worked them for years, I want them always to be like, wow, I enjoyed being around him. I enjoyed working with him, and I would love to work with him in the future. And even when OpTic was in shambles with Hector and the OG OpTic side and the new ownership, I tried to really bridge as much as I could. I really know I put my best foot forward to try to help salvage what I could. But the relationships were just too far apart. But with that, I think the people at OpTic at the time recognized that too, and like didn't penalize me for leaving the apartment early, and didn't charge me this, and paid me out for certain things there. And so I'm very grateful for that, because that helped make that transition a lot easier. But yeah, March was living in the 100 Thieves house, not part of 100 Thieves yet. And then May announced us in 100 Thieves.
So just on your tail end of just actually your experience in OpTic. So you joined, even saying you joined through speaking to other people at the company.
Yeah.
Because again, like I'm drawing parallels to FaZe, right? There's
Yeah.
people that joined FaZe that literally didn't speak. Like even your Rage, right?
Yeah.
When your Rage was one of the few FaZe members remaining, one of the biggest FaZe members, right?
Yeah.
When he joined FaZe, he joined through conversations with the corporate side. Like he
Yeah.
didn't talk to myself, Banks,
Yep.
Tom. Like he was someone who wanted to recruit after the reboot, but they ended up recruiting him, through speaking to his manager, like without us. Like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
for example, right? There's some people that joined. Was that how your route was? Did you not speak to Hex? Did you not speak to the other guys? Like when you got
No, I'm like, Hector was very excited for me to be part of OpTic, and same with all the guys there. I think I didn't have a full understanding of where the situation was.
Yeah.
Like if I joined OpTic and Hector was at the helm, and OpTic is really what it is even now and what it's built back to, I don't think I would have never left, actually.
Yeah.
Like to be completely honest. If I went down there, and I remember so vividly going to this Thai restaurant Hector loves, and having this lunch, and we were talking about like the future of OpTic, and Hector like just came in and blatantly was like, in the next 2 months I could be just fully out. Like I'm probably going to be fully out. And he was like so done with it. And I remember in that moment I was like, I can no longer, this is not what I came down here for. And that was a few months after being there.
Yeah.
Or maybe 5 months after being there. And I knew something had to change. Hector's one of my boys. I was texting with him this week. I love Hector like a brother.
Yeah.
Have no issue with Hector, never did. But at that time, even Hector didn't know what OpTic was going to be with him and where he was at.
And everything changes for anyone that may be listening, thinking like, why would he not tell you that? Or like, because we were in the same position where there's 1 week where I'm like, okay, everything looks good. The next week, like same thing.
Yeah.
Feel like I might not even be in phase.
Yeah.
Everything happens really fast and changes really quickly, especially with these. What's going on with him? He was in a really rough spot. So I don't think no one should. Think, no one should think that he
I don't have the. I
purposely
experienced it. I didn't think it for a heart.
No,
for
I know.
A second.
No, not you. I know, of course. But I'm just saying because it could be like, okay, well, why did you even join in the first place? But
Yeah.
things move. Some things just go very quick, and you don't really have a hand on what's going on. But
100%.
it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I can see what I know what that energy feels like firsthand, right? Of like you're probably excited, you want to see all your friends and whatever, but everyone's just kind of checked out mentally, and it's just this weird vibe.
I mean,
there,
if you went back to that day and or that time, and if FaZe came to me with that same offer and opportunity, I would have joined FaZe. I loved what you guys were doing. I loved what obviously the OpTic guys were doing. One of my most famous Black Ops 3 clips is I got sent. You guys had sent me still my favorite to this day piece of FaZe merchandise ever. That like white jacket with the blue, yellow, and red sleeves with the FaZe logo.
Yeah.
And I have a clip on the snowy map. I forget what it's called. No, not Fringe. And I just go, no, FaZe the F up. And I run and slide past this hallway of the bomb site. And the guy's like planting the bomb or like head glitching the bomb. And as I just slide past, I just turn, no scope him. And I'm like, oh my God. I fall out of my chair. So,
that's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, but then with what Matt was doing with 100 Thieves, I mean, to me, it was like, I felt it. And to this day, it's been one of the most life-changing decisions I've made,
So again, big decision after big decision. You
Yeah.
quit your full-time job at the Call of Duty World League.
Yep.
You moved to Texas.
Yep.
You hated Texas, it seems like.
Yeah.
You enjoyed OpTic, although it was rough. And then you decided to move to California. You moved in the house, and then you ended up joining 100 Thieves. So, I mean, you mentioned that you were kind of in conversations with Matt at the time. I think I even messaged you at the time, by the way.
Probably. I mean,
at that point, I'm sure you had a lot of options on the table. Again, like I even remember at the beginning of Fortnite. I remember watching the Fortnite Pro-Am.
yeah.
And you were like in the final, gunfight of the
With Ninja, yeah.
And I was just like, wait a minute, like who is this guy? Like,
Dude, I had a few of those. That year, I had the MrBeast video, 70K. That's another one where I'm
Oh,
like,
that video too.
I'm
yeah.
like, dude, what the hell's even going on? Like that
I
was
forgot
clutched
about
that one
that.
up. Yeah, that was
Whoever doesn't know, MrBeast made a video of like donating to a streamer, and
Yeah.
it was Jack, and it's like that was before you were like a household name. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
right. You were a big streamer at the time, but like still for like MrBeast, for example, it was like
Yep.
a streamer,
Oh yeah.
and then yeah.
No, him and I had become friends. And he had chosen me, and I was the 7th person. So every person that failed before me, the $10,000 got pushed to the next person. So for me, it was Mini Minter, and MrBeast.
Yeah.
Was 35K each, and I had like 23,000 viewers.
And
And yeah, just crazy.
At the time you got 70K for that, you're saying?
Yeah, I was down. That was when I was in Texas, still part of OpTic. So it was 35K
financially
each.
you weren't. It's not like you were like that's a lot of money at the
Oh,
time.
I mean that was.
I mean,
again,
it's a lot of
life-changing-
money for everyone at any point, but
For
at
sure.
that time, that was life-changing money.
Yeah, it was life-changing money. And in that video, I was like, this is gonna help me pay off. I had dreams of like paying off my sister's student loans in this, so that money went to that. Like I paid off her loans a few years later when she finished school, and I still thank them to this day. Like they
Awesome.
helped with a huge push there.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when you moved to LA again, I saw you in the Pro-Am.
Yep.
You skyrocketed to the top of the Fortnite scene. And were you gonna go pro at that? Like, was there any chance that you went pro at the beginning? Or because again, I remember watching. I'm like, I thought this guy was a CODcaster. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, you're in like the finals of a tournament.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if
And
you looked really good at the game too. I remember your American flag skin.
Yep.
I remember watching him. Just like he's really good at this. Like again, it was at the beginning of the game.
You know what's funny is I was actually the alternate for that event. I wasn't supposed to play in the Pro-Am.
It's so funny.
And then Summit 1G backed out last minute, and I got his spot. I was the 51st person, and then I got second. And I should have won, but I gave up high ground to Ninja because he ratted under my buildings. We had already knocked Marshmallow, and then they just stayed in the bottom of our brick, and I didn't realize that. I panicked. So Ninja got his story arc.
Well, that was again like to see that so quickly to be in Fortnite is so
Yeah.
cool. To be at the top of the game, like right off the like, what happened after that? I know you ended up casting the World Cup,
Yeah.
and playing in tournaments like
No,
this. Like,
At the beginning, it was they had so many like content creators were the pros, kind of.
Yeah.
And to this day, when people meet me or parents meet me, or they still are like, so you're a Fortnite pro?
Yeah.
And now when we know how good Fortnite, if I
Yeah.
faced a Fortnite pro 100 times, I'd lose 100 times.
yeah.
Like there's just no ability.
yeah.
But at that time, no one really knew what the game was yet. They hadn't announced the $100 million prize pool for all this stuff and this and that, for the first 100 million in prize pool for Fortnite comp. It was all still so new. And building a 1x1 was like, whoa, this guy's Booga, prime Booga, which we didn't know who Booga was at the time.
Yeah.
And, but we were good. I was good at the game, good enough to, outplace pro players at summer skirmishes and this and that here and there. Like I think I earned like 50K in prize money through those tournaments off of a few good weeks. Played in the Fortnite Fridays, made I want to say a couple semifinals there, and had some good matchups. But that was what a pro was, I guess, at that time.
Yeah.
But when it came to that first Pro-Am, I remember pro lobbies were just starting up, and the only reason why I knew what rotating early was and boxing up on a hill was and taking high ground was because I played in a couple pro lobbies the week prior just to learn. So when that tournament happened, the reason why we placed so well was because if you go look, like 5 zones prior, me and my teammate Kenneth Fareed, shout out Kenneth, he basically was like, yo man, I'm your med kit. Like I'm your healing bot. Carry all the guns you want, I'll carry all the heals. So I think he had a shotgun and 4 heals, and I had 5 guns. That I just rotated right outside Shifty Shafts to the top middle of where I thought the zone would go and built a metal box, and we stayed there for 6 zones.
Wow.
And we finished with the most kills. We got second place, all that stuff. And so, with that, thankfully, Ninja was having a competitive event called Ninja Vegas where they had pros show up, and that was really the first competitive Fortnite event that had 650,000 viewers on his channel. And at that time, me and Dr. Lupo were already close with him, that he said, yo, do you guys want to come cast this? So Lupo and I went and casted. I already had all this casting experience. Lupo was a natural. And it was my first time getting to really meet Tyler in person, his friends, and Lupo. And I cast that event. And I think Lupo and I still to this day are the best Fortnite casting duo of all time. Personally, I think I'm the best Fortnite caster of all time still. I think I'm the best at storytelling, best at building the hype. And a lot of their new casters are great, but I don't think any caster has ever set the stage to the level that I have. And I think that would be my piece of advice for current casters. Like Call of Duty, for example. One of the things I think I did best was Game 5, Round 11 S&D at a grand finals. If you win that round, some events, this, is a difference in $200,000 in prize money. Like, tell the story of This is a $200,000 round of search and destroy.
Yeah.
You know, this is a $4 million game of Fortnite is what the final games of the Fortnite Pro-Am were, you know? Like, make it known where, like, if this guy just lives to the end and we tell that story or we tell this person's, like, make sure people can understand that and they can resonate with that. So thankfully, we did a great job of that at Ninja Vegas. That Fortnite had reached out and we had been offered the opportunity to be the head casters for a couple of the PAX events. And then when the Pro-Am came out, I signed in my opinion, to this day, the highest paid esports caster in history for the 10 weeks of the World Cup buildup and then the Fortnite World Cup event. And it was a life-changing opportunity. And that one wasn't really a leap. It was more just I knew I wasn't going to. Some people were like, well, why don't you compete? And I'm like, dude, I can get top 8 for casting, you know, like in prize money. You know, like I'm like, why would I? Or whatever it was. Top 10.
I mean, couple things there. Can you share what that number was or what a ballpark is of that? It was for 10 weeks of casting?
Yeah, 10 weeks of casting and then the event itself. You know, I've got a great working relationship with Epic. I don't want to step on any toes there, but I can say that, you know, my entire year of Fortnite, of Call of Duty casting salary was like a couple of the weekends, few of the weekends, just for Saturday and Sunday for 8 hours a day.
And that was for 10 weeks.
Yeah. And like, obviously, at that time, I built a huge audience too.
Yeah.
So I wasn't just a caster. I was also, and Lupo too, we were 2 of the top Fortnite streamers. So you have to keep that a little bit in perspective.
100%.
It's like you're having 2 of the top streamers also be the 2 top casters. So it's kind of like a double dip, right?
It's the best case scenario for Fortnite. And for you being a caster for what, 10 years before that almost? 7, 8 years, whatever it was. That must have been one of the coolest moments ever for, you know, at peak Fortnite, World Cup.
Yep.
That you just took this leap of faith to become a full-time streamer in the game. To be able to call back to your casting career and like do that together. Like what a perfect story.
I mean, I can say this for the sake of this because I know that there's some financial figures shared here and there. Like my first COD champs was 7 days of work was for $500. Like that was my rate for those 7 days. And obviously they fly me out in this and that hotel, but like my pay for my first COD champs was $500. I've done an event where I was a caster. I'm not going to say which one or where, but I got paid $25,000 for a 3-hour show as a caster. And so it was like
big change.
Yeah. And then after the Fortnite World Cup, the budgets decreased severely and it just no longer made financial sense for me to cast. And I technically got fired from the event after the Fortnite World Cup for yelling mechs.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
For yelling what?
They had the mechs in Fortnite in Season X. And Fortnite World Cup was Season 9. And I was in a Twitch Rivals tournament with Tim. And we were ratting it up in a great spot in this, but the mechs were in the game and they were so broken. I mean, anyone who played knew how broken the mechs were. And I was trying to clutch up this tournament. And I'm so competitive. I'm wearing my 100 Thieves jersey. I'm out here. And I mean, you know what it's like. You want to win these things. And Tim and I are completely hiding and a mech just walks over to the building we're in that don't even know we're in there. But with one click of a button, they stop and break the whole building. And I'm like, launch. And I just yell, the mechs, and slam my table. And shortly after, like some people from Epic reached out and were like, look, we love Jack, but I think after this clip kind of went viral and I was pretty harsh at the game at that time. They were like, let's put a pause on this. And then right after that, going into year 2, they had hired some people who like actually looked at the budgets of things and were like, let's really lower this down. And it just didn't make sense anymore.
That's cool though that you got that experience of the World Cup. It was a perfect time for you to go back to your content.
Oh, I mean, it was insane.
Epic just in general. Even I know you said you're not gonna say what event it was, but just the concept of them taking care of casters like that. Yeah, obviously you're not just a caster at that point, but everybody I speak to, whether it was Ninja or Cypher, whoever, like there's so many moments where they just put so much money into people's pockets that they didn't have to.
I mean, supporter creator and this. Like I remember when the supporter creator happened for. Where Supporter Creator was out and Apex started to be the first game that made Fortnite have to like kind of look over its shoulder, I would say, in the Battle Royale genre. And at that time, everyone wanted the soccer skins to come back. And that was like the most hyped skin for it to return. And now there's been other versions of that over the years, but by far the most was the soccer skin coming back. And when Apex was like hitting its stride a little bit, I remember Epic like did its first ever that I saw like break glass in case of emergency. They re-released the soccer skins, gave out a free item for putting in a creator code. So you put in a creator code and you get a free item. So people are activating creator codes. And then they 4x'd the creator code. So instead of every $5, instead of getting $5 for every 100 spent with your code, it was 20 for every 100. So they had this perfect storm to get players and top streamers back in the game.
Yeah.
And some of the figures that I heard of what creators made, unfathomable.
Like what?
like
what did you hear?
like 7 figures in one night. Top
one
creators.
night?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like the top.
I mean, Ninja was on my show. He mentioned that he made like 5 million in his top month just from supporter creators.
Oh, I mean, insane.
And I
Like
used
an unbelievable.
At that
you
time,
know,
Tfue, Ninja, even like
Laserbeam, Lachlan, Ali, all
crazy,
these guys.
crazy.
I was never on that level. Like I've
Yeah.
been very blessed,
Yeah.
but I think the most people I ever had using my code was like from some of their figures was like a 50th.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, again, like some people just were in the perfect place at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Well deserved. Ninja, of course. Tfue, they deserved it, but their names were synonymous with Fortnite.
Oh,
so
yeah.
anybody who just like, what's a creator I know? I'm sure they just typed in Tfue and just threw it in. Scissors, I know for,
Oh,
when
yeah,
he
Jack.
made his Mac.
Oh, yeah.
I look at him, I'm like, man, I mean, thankfully, I think, he did pretty well with his map and stuff at the time, but
Yeah, but
imagine
if you
his
do-
map existed
Now, if
yeah.
Scissors Death Run existed now, this dude wouldn't even be talking to us.
He'd be making
he'd be in Tahiti.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Fortnite has changed everything. So, thank God you made that decision early on.
Every
that
day
you made that
I'm grateful.
jump. Last thing I want to say about the World Cup, there's like some controversy apparently from you where your commentary had some call outs and people thought that people were maybe hearing what you were saying.
Yeah.
What is that? What exactly
Yeah,
happened?
those kids are such idiots. I mean, everyone at the Fortnite World Cup has had earbuds in and then soundproofing headsets.
Yeah.
Now, some people might argue, for example, I casted Call of Duty, they had the same setup.
Yeah.
People are yelling in the background when a ninja defuse is happening or the crowd is chanting. Players have said to me that like they can feel the literal vibration of the speakers or the crowd, and that isn't even a tell to them. When these guys are playing and they've got those headsets on and everything, and I'm casting, all they hear in their headset is and they're in the heat of the moment, they're reloading, they're building, they're not hearing me go booga, because I know the play, go to shockwave up, but a narrative that gets built out by one of the players involved in it, and Fortnite is a young, impressionable audience. So people love to eat up the drama and this and that.
Oh, one of the players is the one that started that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so I think it was a guy, I can't remember what his name is, against Booga. And I said he made clips about it, and then those go crazy on TikTok. And then you could tell the TikTok kids anything. They'll run it. Are you kidding me?
So they're saying that you're the reason Booga won the
That
final
won,
good
like
fight.
won one of the games or
Okay.
made the shockwave play he made. Like the only play Booga had to make was a shockwave. The zone was closing. He knew he knew, I forget what the exact things had happened at that time, but all the signs pointed towards making that aggressive shockwave play up.
Yeah.
And so he did the obvious play and wins the game.
Even to your point, I mean, I don't think they heard you, but to your point, like it happens in Counter-Strike too. Like literally, like even if someone's holding a peak and someone's about to come, the crowd's
going
screaming.
crazy. Oh yeah.
I remember, I don't know if they still do it now, but there was an era in Counter-Strike where they would play in the soundproof boxes.
Yeah.
And
those
COD even did it for a little bit too.
Yeah,
right?
and those have kind of gone away, I would say, for the most part. It's just staged. I mean, the technology's gotten great with the soundproofing and then the IAMs and all that.
Yeah.
It's
It's also like unfortunate. Sometimes it sucks when you're on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
But like it's part of esports.
Yeah,
It's
I
part
think-
of the game.
I
you
think
know?
the worst is like the ninja defuse moments.
Yeah.
So thankfully we don't have to deal with that in Fortnite, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Call of Duty S&D. I mean, I had a couple pro players at times like literally want to threaten to beat me up because they think I'm the reason they lost them a round.
That's crazy.
Meanwhile, it's like you're mad at me because I'm doing my job as a caster, but the production team did a poor job of, or the event budgeted. Did budget soundproofing or this and that leaks more audio through. Like, I don't know that, right?
Yeah.
I'm just doing my job as a caster.
It's really interesting, like how much you probably get the brunt of people's anger sometimes.
Oh, yeah. No, at times, for sure.
I can imagine as a competitor in the heat of the moment, like you want to find somebody to blame. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny that you probably. Did you have a good relationship though with most of the players when you were a caster?
Yeah, I did. Some of the UK guys, when I first started casting in COD, didn't really like a couple of them.
It's because the COD scene too is so tight. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all these esports, the pros are traveling with each other all the time.
Yeah.
Like, every weekend they're seeing each other in different states, so like everyone gets to know each other really well. So
Yeah. I remember my Aches and I remember Pac-Man. They were not fond of me doing so well from a streaming perspective and streaming during the Black Ops 3 days and having such an audience with that. And then at that time, Nick Merckx had like 3,000 subs as a COD streamer, and then I had 1,000 on Twitch.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, now every pro player, if pro players fire up their streams, they've got 3,000-4,000 subs just for being there.
Yeah.
And now you've seen what Zuma's built and
Yeah.
Scum's built and Octane and all that whole crew. I'm like, I'm so happy for their success.
Yeah.
And the only thing I ever heard from anyone was like, man, I wish I did this earlier.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I know.
dude, imagine if some of those first pros in Black Ops 3 would go live after matches. I mean, it would have gone insane.
Yeah, I mean,
But
we
none of them
saw it
did.
with Scump and Nate and Black Ops 2, and again, not everyone. It's easy to be the guy.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everyone, and it's also easy to be like, point, look, why is he doing that, or he's doing it for this reason, or he has viewership for that reason. But the people that took the leap, like you can. I mean, one thing I think people could easily take from this is how many times you were confident in what you wanted to do, and you just took the leap, made the decision, and hard work pays off. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. I just knew. I think that's one thing that I tell people is I'm a pretty calculated person. I like kind of gaining experience and making an educated decision. And I think each time when I looked at the opportunity and, was nervous to make the leap, I've always been confident in following my gut in taking that leap. And it's led me to some of the biggest moments of my career. So I think anyone watching this that has opportunities like that is you can't live with regret.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've lived in Los Angeles. I've loved living out here. I've paid 14% more than I need to in taxes for the last 6 years, which has cost me, I'm sure, millions of dollars. But at the same time, I want to live where I want to live. The opportunities and memories and moments I've had in Los Angeles, I couldn't have anywhere else in the U.S. And, I think the big part of why I've lost weight is because I've lived out here and had nice weather each day to go for walks and workouts and this and that. That from my end, it's like people will be quick to judge for certain things, but you got to do what you think is best for you. And that's what all these decisions have been.
100%. So when you ended up joining 100 Thieves, your experience in OpTic wasn't the best because of external forces and conditions that you couldn't control.
Yep.
How different was it joining 100 Thieves? It was obviously Nate Shot is the main guy at the time. He has a business that he's building. He has investors and stuff like that. But what was the difference like? What was it like kind of combining forces with him?
Yeah, when I joined with Matt, it was really simple. It made a lot of sense from a financial standpoint, but then also like a life standpoint. It was like a match made in heaven. Like I've always looked up to Matt. I loved what he was building. Loved what 100 Thieves was about. I knew I wanted to be out in Los Angeles. I knew I wanted to be in this area. There were so many opportunities with being out here that when it came down to it, it was like living with a guy that I'm becoming great friends with. House is covered, starting podcasts together. They're setting up the podcast for us. To me, it was like, this is a huge opportunity that I'd never want to miss out on, And so got out to Los Angeles. And at that time, 100 Thieves was just on the up, right? And this is before the esports winter, before a lot of rough months and year that then it was like, felt like all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
And, thankfully, I've always had a lot of trust and love for the 100 Thieves team and whoever's been behind the helm. So I never really had to get too deep in the weeds like I know you and Matt went through.
Yeah.
So for me, I kind of got all the fun side of it.
Okay.
Gave my input, would help with certain decisions that I think were tough. But at the end of the day, it was always known that like my business, courage and my brand and me from that side comes first.
Yeah.
That there was never an expectation, for example, for me to be in the office multiple days a week or this or that. Like I showed up for shoots and for big meetings when needed, but that was really it.
Yeah, and you being courage is what helps propel.
Of course, yeah.
Right? The only downside of having the best beard in FaZe Clan's history is that it comes with a lot of grooming needs. Lucky for me, Manscaped's Beard and Balls bundle came to my rescue. The Beard Hedger comes with 20 customizable settings, so whether you got a really thick beard like myself or a non-existent beard like FaZe Adapt, we got you covered. Even at the max setting, you can shave carefree because fortunately for me and you, the Beard Hedger comes with a built-in skin-safe technology that minimizes nicks and irritation. The Beard and Balls bundle features a long-lasting battery life up to 60 minutes as well as waterproof design. So whether you're in the pool or the ocean or you're crying in the shower because you hit Mark with a trick shot, Manscaped has you covered. Join over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and use code FNF for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Or if you need it today, you can find Manscaped at a store nearby. Level up your grooming game today. Don't cut corners on your grooming routine. Upgrade to Manscaped's Beard and Balls bundle today. Stay fresh this season for everyone's sake. Level up your grooming game. Stay fresh, stay smooth, and enjoy festival season like a legend. So you had a period of time where you were just a member.
Yep.
And then I don't know how long was it when you became a co-owner.
I'd say 2 years, I want to say. Yeah.
So what was that like? What was that process like? And what was there much of a difference after that? Like you just mentioned, you weren't too deep in, but what changed when you became a co-owner? And what was it like when you got presented that?
Matt made the very gracious offer to both Ray and I and gave us the kind of shares of his ownership that he kind of had a pool that he was able to give out to. And, I think we all lived in the house to start. We helped build kind of the core feeling of the 100 Thieves YouTube channel. We were the core faces of it at that time. And still to this day, when the time comes. I think from Matt's end, it was like, look, Ray and I had both been super successful and very blessed to be very successful. We had signed these streaming contracts and had followed a pretty similar path with that. That I think from our end, it was like 100 Thieves recognized, like, look, we love working with you guys. The number one way that for Matt's end to show like our appreciation is by making you guys co-owners with us. Like with how much money that Ray had started to make or that I had started to make, we were very blessed, but it became a thing where it was like 100 Thieves can't cripple their business just to pay us more and more. It'll never match kind of where things are at. So what can they do? It's like, let's grow this together, make it something great. And Ray's so passionate about it. I'm so passionate about it. Matt's so passionate about it that it just really made sense. And it's one of the things I'm most proud of. And even if 100 Thieves never amounts to anything from like an ownership standpoint, obviously want it to be very successful, but God forbid it just never pans out. I'm not going to look back and be like, why did I do that? Why did I take more money? Why did I? No, like 100 Thieves is where I want to be, and it's been the centerpiece of why I've lived out here and where I've made my best friends out here and had our highest of highs and some low lows.
I think it's a really important decision to make. It was very important for 100 Thieves and Nate to offer that to you guys, and it was definitely the right decision. It's something that was one of the reasons for FaZe's downfall, honestly. It's because the corporate entity at the time running it really didn't see much benefit in giving ownership to the members that have been there for 10 years. Somehow they didn't find that to be important. And, thankfully with the reboot, I know that's the route that Banks is like fully set on, everyone owning it together. And it's really the only way to do it, in my perspective. It's the only way to do it. And I hope that moving forward, that is the route that most of these orgs and groups go. Yeah. Obviously, you see Sidemen, Beta Squad. Like, there's YouTube groups that do it that way. But there were some years in esports where people were paying insane salaries to creators to be a part of it. Yep. And like you said, it just didn't make sense. Paying someone $50K a month. And because it never even felt like they wanted to be in the team anyways. Yeah. So
and it's also like these certain salaries coming in when it's relative to everything else they've got going on. When they've got 12 different avenues, financial avenues, but 11 of those require less time than being part of the organization. Yeah. They only put a negative connotation towards being with the organization, or view it as a stressor, or view it as
it's like a brand deal.
Yeah, it's like another.
It's like XQC. I remember I think he was just Luminosity. Yeah, and I remember like he was someone we wanted to recruit at some point. It's like, dude, you're gonna have to pay. I'm not saying this is what he asks for, but it was probably would be more now, probably if anything. About like $50K a month. Yeah, just to have one of these big streamers on your team to kind of put on the branding on their Twitter, kind of, and then never really engage with it. Yeah,
and I think that there is certain places, like 100 Thieves had been paying me handsomely during the house years because we were
you're making content every video. 24/7. Yeah,
I was in the house. Yeah. I was at the compound often. We were doing the podcast, right? Yeah. That was a very successful endeavor from a 100 Thieves standpoint. So I think that there's times where it can make sense when you're really, really in it. Yeah, right. No, for sure. And with that deal also, they had a couple of my categories from like a streaming sponsored standpoint, and I made those partners happy, and those were deliverables. So there's pros and cons to it. I think having someone that you're paying incredibly handsomely that isn't in it, in the house, there day in and day out with the people there, it's like that just never will make sense.
I agree. I can't help myself but think of FaZe and compare to it. But I think that's one thing that just never got figured out, because we also had people that were living, other than having the house paid for, which, later in life you realize how big of a blessing that is. You mentioned it earlier. Yeah. It really is, right? But other than that, we had a lot of people that were there every day, showing up, filming, never got ownership, never got paid. Yeah. And again, it was a misstep by the people running the company at the time, because they just, this guy's been here for 10 years.
He's not going anywhere.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, he's a legacy member. They're not going to go anywhere. Exactly. Yeah. But it's hard to find that balance. But I think now, after, did you say the esports winter? Yeah. Is that what that year where everything kind of just?
I think most people would regard.
Is that what it's called? Yeah. Okay, I don't know. I didn't know there was a name for it, but I know what you're talking about.
That's what I've seen.
It's like the bubble popped, right? And it's like everything kind of went down. I feel like coming out of while the dust settled, I feel like this is the only way to do it. Have some ownership and pay people when they deserve to be paid. Yeah. Very interesting. You mentioned, and this is what I wanted to ask you about. I think it was late 2019 when you signed your YouTube deal. Yeah. So you were in 100 Thieves at the time, obviously. What was that like? I know a few people. Again, that season of YouTube deals is kind of done now too. I feel like, right?
Really, just across the board.
There's no more stream deals. Yeah. But at the time, they were signing big streamers to different platforms. Yeah. What was it like signing to YouTube? At the time, you were a big streamer on Twitch. So once again, you were in the top 25 on Twitch, if my numbers are correct, right? And you decided to, again, take a massive leap, leave Twitch that you just built up for all these years, to a new platform. take the money. I'm sure it was a lot of money, you know,
Yeah.
that blessing. But to make, again, it's not that easy of a decision that people may think. So what was that like going through that?
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I almost forget now. It's been so long of like what the amount of rabid audience I had and the momentum I had.
Yeah.
And so I had been offered a Twitch offer, then went and shopped around to Mixer and YouTube. YouTube and Mixer made their offers. When I went back to Twitch, they had now added for the first time ever, no, you have to run, I think it was 5 minutes of ads an hour. So my first deal had no ad requirements
On Twitch.
on Twitch.
Okay.
My second offer in that first contract had ad requirements, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. So I'm out. Like, the moment I heard that in order for me to get paid the money that they were offering, I had to run 5 minutes of ads an hour, which now is completely expected from every viewer, basically. And it's become part of the Twitch ethos. At that time, would have been like, you know, I would have been the first streamer to be doing that, basically. So yeah, I think I was the 21st most followed account in the world, at 2.1 million followers on Twitch.
Amazing.
But from the moment I started streaming, I invested in my YouTube channel, hired Swappa, hired thumbnail people, then hired, you know, a couple more editors over the years. So when I had 2.1 million followers on Twitch, I also had million plus on Instagram, million plus on TikTok, million plus, or I had the exact amount of followers on Twitch and YouTube.
Wow.
So I had 2.1 million subs on my YouTube channel and 2.1 million followers on Twitch, which when you went and looked at the top 20 above me, there was only a couple who were in that scenario. So when I signed with YouTube, it wasn't like I was joining Mixer. I was joining a platform that I was already very successful on, that I already had a great relationship with, and my audience already expected me to be on day in and day out. So that made it really easy for me. Then what it also helped me with was that I had so much other stuff going on with the podcast and life and a new girlfriend at the time, or, you know, a relationship at the time and this and that like my YouTube contract was for 100 hours a month, where Twitch was 150.
Wow. That's
So
a big difference.
it's a big
too.
difference.
Yeah.
And no ad requirement, this and that. And I get to, you know, when I'm the 21st most followed account on Twitch when I was leaving, at the same amount of followers on YouTube, I was 10,900th.
It's crazy.
So for me, it was like being a big fish in a small pond to being like a small fish in the ocean, joining YouTube. And over that time, then went all in on YouTube, dove in even more. One thing I think I really try to do with being a signed YouTube partner was be the best partner I could be to YouTube internally. So I did countless calls, countless product calls, went to the different events that they hosted, showed up wherever I could. YouTube was paying me a lot of money. I wanted them to be as happy with me as possible so that if the opportunity came back up to sign again, I would hopefully be top of mind. Thankfully, in 2021, they re-signed me for a bit more money, and then did the same thing all over again. 2023, they said, hey, we're kind of changing our approach on this. Twitch had just changed their rules, that they made me one final offer for less money and way less hours as well. So in total, I was one of the only people I think in streaming history that has 3 deals at the same platform.
Wow. And you had a Twitch one before that.
I never had a Twitch one.
Oh, okay.
Never had a Twitch one. I got offers. My first one from Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer. My second time, I got offered from Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube.
YouTube, yeah.
And then the final one was just YouTube.
3 deals,
Facebook,
yeah.
the Facebook one I turned down was by far the most, but would have been the most crippling from a business perspective. Like at that time, joining Facebook would have been the end of your sponsors, viewership. You know, that I think I would have joined Facebook if I was where I am now and starting a family, hopefully the next few years. And it was a decision where it was like, you do this and your kids are set up, your family is set up. And you know, then after that's done, I might have to rebuild a bit here and there. I think I would have been way more now open to it. But then I'm still 2021. I'm still flying.
Yeah.
You know, opportunities are still coming in left and right. And so I don't regret saying no to it. But yeah, no, it was crazy to look
Can
back.
you share what Facebook offered, or like you know, ballparks?
I'll say it was over 8 figures.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you know, the YouTube contracts, I mean, Mitz has talked about them a little bit here. Like, they were very lucrative, not nearly as lucrative as the Facebook one from that perspective, from just the money standpoint. But I've always been blessed to work with blue chip brands, been on 2 nationally televised TV commercials, you know, been involved with so many different companies and games over the years that if I joined Facebook, those deals basically crashed out of nothing, right? That's 2 years of exclusivity where basically no sponsorship revenue.
They don't care
from
about
that side.
Yeah, that's very
So I think in the end, if I look at everything for those 2 years that would have been gone on Facebook, did I make less money? Absolutely. But is my brand still stronger than ever? You know, in the years post that, I think I've made back the money, or, you know, helped make back the money that I've lost out by not accepting, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense.
I also don't know the negative it would have had on my mental. Sure, it would have been a lot of money, but all this that I built would have really been thrown it away, you know?
Who knows what viewership would have been like on Facebook.
And And even now, like back on Twitch, like my YouTube is still by far my more watched platform now because I left my Twitch for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like some people join in, they're like, wow, he only has 1,100 viewers, which is still crazy when people say that.
Yeah.
With 2 million followers. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I was literally a ghost on this platform for 5 years. I
Yeah.
wasn't there, you know?
It's a very interesting part of it that you mentioned, like having sponsors. Being on YouTube, being that big on YouTube is going to attract more sponsors. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it sounds obvious, but when you think about it, if someone's being presented 2 deals, to have the insight to kind of look past that 8-figure number and realize like I didn't even think about that when you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And I've been in the game for almost 15 years now, but that is a very important piece of it. I think where you are does matter. I think even that's why when Ninja went to Mixer, such a big move. Obviously, he got very lucky with how that played out. But,
Oh, yeah.
But you're right. Right. There's a lot of people that get offered like to go to Kick nowadays, like
Yep.
crazy numbers. But there is a difference being big on Twitch and YouTube versus
Oh, yeah.
some of these other platforms and the sponsors that come with
Culturally
it.
and what
Yeah.
that means for your brand and what it would have meant for 100 Thieves. You know, if I joined Facebook, what it would have meant for the Courage and Nate Shot show.
Yeah.
To me, there was just, I didn't want, I already moved my audience once and I didn't want to pull the rug out from under my audience again. Like
Yeah.
they're the reason I'm able to do what I do. And for my end, I was like, you know what? I'd rather work with these great blue chip brands. I can say confidently, I've never taken, these sketchy sponsors or doing these certain things. Like I've always been confident in the companies I'm working with and have had many multi-year partnerships that I'd rather stay where I am, have my audience be excited, and by where I am between Twitch and YouTube, where I had always been, and have content that I'm proud of, that my audience is excited about, and then have blue chip brands and sponsors of companies that I respect a lot wanting to work with me and work with the courageous. They're the ones that make possible the content we make and the salaries I pay. There's a reason I've never had a person that works for me, leave.
Yeah.
I pay them a lot of money, and I know that they're well taken care of and happy. And so we just keep doing it. All 3 of my editors have been with me now for over 5 years. So,
Oh, yeah. So, speaking of numbers, obviously I've asked a few now, and just because even what you're saying, having a staff under you that you're paying, like it's something that adds up.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're not making the money, it's not easy to pay people. And
Yeah.
So with all these, you have 4 YouTube channels. 3 of them are active now.
yeah.
I know you're just talking about, you have your React channel, you have a Shorts channel, and your gaming channel.
Yep.
Your main channel, you've kind of paused on. You
It's
stream
just
on
stream.
that one?
Yeah. I
okay.
just stream there.
So you stream there and you make content on your other 3.
Yep.
And obviously Twitch and all that. So what does your team look like? You have 3 editors. What else do you have? Are they posting for you? How does it work to get content everywhere?
So I think I've always tried to run a bit more of I know I ask a lot of my staff,
Yeah.
but I know that I want them to know that I'm not going to be like over their shoulder looking at them day in and day out. Like I trust in them to represent me well if it's working with my agents on like getting approvals for things we're doing and things like that. Like I'm not the one going and saying, here's the clip for that. Let me know what we need to change. And then I go to my editors and explain that. No, that's all streamlined. So Swap is my right-hand man. Been with him since the very beginning. And, now he's making well into 6 figures, right? When I was making $60 a month, we grew the channels from 60K subs to across all of them now is like 8 million or whatever it is. Then my mom was the second person I hired full time.
Really?
So my mom's worked for me full time for 6 years. I just get to keep that money in the family,
Nice.
max out her benefits plans. I can say through the help that I've given my parents, like for where they are from a financial standpoint for retirement, like if my audience went completely away, they would be set for the rest of their lives for what they need through being able to just keep my mom paid and maxing our benefits and everything. And basically what she does for me is the boring stuff. Helps handle my taxes, helps set up calls the lawyer, helps set up the investment stuff, sets up my laundry, sets up this.
Yeah.
She comes out and visits. She makes me good food.
Yeah.
My mom's the best, and I'm blessed with great parents. Kevy runs my React channel, but then also will help with short form stuff. And we're figuring out what we want to do with the React channel right now. Abby was a mod, and then she was at 100 Thieves for a bit, and then was going to be leaving 100 Thieves. I said, wait, you got to at least come try this with us. So Abby now we've grown her as an editor. She's gone from being like just a short form type of editor to now like full on editing videos.
Nice.
Then I have a pair of editors down in Brazil who basically, when they reached out and wanted to work together, like we learned English from your channel and like proved it. And they're just these guys that love working with them. They're on a contracted basis per video because it's tough some months are bigger than others. You know, as you know, like Fortnite goes in seasons, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a little bit tough from my standpoint to justify being able to be like, yo, you're going to get all this money when like we might only need Swappa and Abby that month. Or a potential third video done. So he's on a contracted basis. Then I have 2 to 3 shorts people that are on contracted basis that I work with. Really now it's like 2. The new guy we've been working with has been great. And then thumbnail people, talk about the worst people in the world to work with from a Fortnite perspective. These Fortnite thumbnail guys. I'm like, guys, I want to pay you a lot of money per thumbnail. Like, and give you work every day. And you would think that I was asking him to paint me the Mona Lisa each morning. Like, and by that I mean like we asked him to make high quality thumbnails. We pay him a high quality amount of money for those thumbnails. And it's like some days they're like, oh bro, didn't see this. And I'm like, dude, last night you said you'd do it. And now like I can't fire up my YouTube stream until I have a thumbnail, and we rely on them. I'm sure a lot of these guys are younger, right? In high school, or some of them are even college. But I'm like, dude, I'm trying to give you thousands of dollars a month just to make me thumbnails, which some of them, we'll ask them for a thumbnail at 10 and they'll be done with the thumbnail at 10:30 in the morning. So for 30 minutes of work, you know, I'm like, come on guys. But thankfully we've got 2 really good thumbnail people that we work with per thumbnail basis. I have an assistant that I pay per hour. I don't really need someone that's there day in and day out, right? In total, there's probably 10 people every month that have some sort of payment from me. Half of them are full-time. Maybe 6 of them are full-time.
And your mom's running all that?
She helps run some of the payment stuff. Some of them are still as OG as like 2 of them are from Europe, so I just send them PayPal. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know?
I love it. I still pay some of you on PayPal too. That's my go-to still.
And I know that was a long-winded answer, and I yap a lot.
No, I mean, it's very interesting. I think a lot of people, again, like I'm not surprised by it. But people may not realize how much work it takes to do what you're doing. Like, again, like I see your channels, I'm like, bro, this guy has 3 channels posting all the time. You're streaming every day, basically, on multiple platforms and shorts. And because it took me a while to ramp back up into content because I wanted to build a team. I used to be a one-man show. I'm sure you were at some point too. But it's not possible if you want to grow like you have grown. So it's very interesting. I think a lot of people are going to be very interested to see how you just named off 10 people that you need to be able to do what you do every day. So.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, then there's people like Cypher or some of these other creators that I'm sure you've spoken to that are these massive teams and this and that. You know, that to me...
You have a pretty massive team, by the way.
Yeah, but it also caused me a lot of anxiety thinking of going bigger. You know, I do think of like building Fortnite maps or doing these other ventures or clothing this. And then I'm like, yeah, but I really like the idea that like right now I'm probably at like one of my biggest lulls I've been in my career from like a sponsorship revenue standpoint, from a viewership standpoint. I've had we talk privately about some stuff going on my personal life off camera, which I'm fine, but it's just like life happens. I know that even in these times, I'm not sitting there going, oh, dude, do I got to get rid of someone? You know, you know, I can take the hits, right, and can be fine and still run a successful business instead of I never want to have to do layoffs within my Courageous team, or you know, or structural changes for that matter. So, you know, I'd rather have high expectations for the people that I'm working with, for them to do the things we do, and have them come to me and be like, hey, you know, this might be too much right now, or here's what's going on. Like, just talk to me. You know, I'm not like looking and being like, did you clock in today, Swappa? I've never once been like, yo, you working? I'm like, I know it's going to get done. And if it doesn't, then he knows I'm going to be like, yo, why ain't it getting done? You know, it's like, that's it.
No, to your point too, like a lot of people do try to take that huge leap, and it you know, it can quickly kind of crash.
To me, my mental, I've always dealt with anxiety. I've always, you know, had, you know, stress is something that affects me. I'm in therapy for a reason with that. And I take Lexapro, you know, every day, try to help keep me where I need to be. I'm an overthinker. And so for my end, if I had, you know, Fortnite map making came out, and I know some of these creators have been really successful with it. Some haven't been. And all I can do is try to realize that like comparison is the thief of joy. Like I've been very blessed to do what I do. I'm very blessed to live the life I live and have my family taken care of and have our health. That like, could I be sitting here going like, dude, I could be like Ludwig, for example, or Typical Gamer, or you know, not MrBeast. No one can be MrBeast, but just try to start scaling up. Or a Preston Plays. But then I'm like, yeah, but I kind of also like the fact that like at the end of the day, I can go play 3 hours of League of Legends with my high school best friends like I do every day right now, because it's just fun and helps me diet, you know, helps me fast. So that's another thing I can't take for granted. It's like, I like that, you know.
I really respect how you look at the big picture, because it is very easy. Like you just said, you said comparison is a thief of joy. So it's a good quote, because it's very easy. Even if you're making this much money, oh my God, I could be making X amount more if I had a map
Someone's always gonna be doing better.
Yeah,
Someone's always gonna be doing worse.
it's good. It's
I've
kind
done
of
a
the
lot-
same way you looked at the streaming deals and understanding, like when you just look at it face value, number versus number.
Yeah.
It's easy to do that, but when you actually deep dive behind it and what comes with Facebook versus YouTube and
Yep.
what comes with you limiting yourself to what you're doing as if it's not a lot, not limiting
100%.
it. You're doing a lot already.
Yeah.
But to be content with, I'm going to keep doing with what I'm doing.
Yep.
I'm not going to try to make this whole new revenue and build this whole business that maybe you don't even have a passion for building maps and maybe you do, but like understanding that that's a lot of stress. And that I think that's why you've been able to do this for so long too.
No, thank you.
A lot of people burn themselves out or try to do too much, and then you end up doing nothing. I mean,
Yep.
I have that issue. There's so many things I want to do, and
Yeah.
I know that I've had that issue over and over where I try to do a little bit of everything,
Yep.
and you end up doing nothing. So it's a big
It like paralyzes you almost.
yeah, 100%. So that's awesome. You have a big. I know you're saying you don't want a big team, but for me, who's trying to build a team, 10 people that you feel confident paying every month, and like that's a great team.
And sure, some of them aren't like full on salaries,
yeah, but still.
No, I know those people day in and month out do rely on the amount of business I bring them.
Yeah.
And I want them to have the consistency of the business we're bringing them.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So
it's amazing. Well, you've done an amazing job at building your brand and content.
Thank you.
So the brand deals part of it is very interesting because you've said you've done multi-year deals. I don't think I've ever had a multi-year deal other than through FaZe.
Yeah.
But like sponsorships, can you talk about some of the sponsorships you've done? Like you said, you've worked with blue chip companies. What are the cool ones that you've worked with that you look back at that you're proud of?
Chipotle is probably the most proud still. Love that was my dream brand to work with. Yeah, I've had 4 years of the unlimited card.
That's awesome.
Burning a hole in my pocket right now. I had Chipotle for lunch.
Yeah.
So, but right now, technically, I'm not sponsored by Chipotle. I was. They came back last year and signed with me for another full year because I put them in a Fortnite fashion show that was a sponsored video that got 11 million views. They said it's like one of the most successful pieces of content ever from a sponsored perspective. So that was really cool. Ruffles, I did the commercial for. So that's a blue chip. I did the Mountain Dew Game Fuel, which is Pepsi owned.
Yeah.
Had a custom flavor. We sold, now I don't know if I'm allowed to say or not, but over 10,000 cases of that.
Wow.
Which was a full sellout on the 2 different drops.
Amazing.
I mean, Samsung through their monitors did that for a year, which was awesome. And then different peripherals. I was with Razer for years. Now I've been with Corsair for years. And their family, they own Scuff.
Elgato, right?
We know Scuff.
Yeah.
Very well. And over the years, I think the only way to describe it would be countless others.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I've definitely always had a consistent flow of through my agents at Loaded. They've always done a great job of putting me out there, putting offers in front of me. And that's not even talking about game development opportunities or game dev deals like sponsored game streams or movies or other products, other food, other, this. So it's been, to me, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I like the challenge of how can I put this product in front of my audience that I know I like this product, have my audience want to engage with it and have them feel like it's a successful partnership, have my audience be excited and have me be excited about it too. And those are the deals that help pay for the Christmas bonuses and this and that,
Yeah.
So
That's I think maybe it was off camera where we spoke about it, but we've touched on your audience as being older, the older audience, the younger audience. I think that's one massive benefit of when you are able to make content for a younger, not even necessarily just younger, but clean content that brands like. You get a lot more opportunities like this, and it's really cool that you put yourself in a position. By being a good dude, having good relationships with people, making good content. Even what you're saying about like YouTube, how you went above and beyond. That I think you've even brought people to YouTube, right? If I remember correctly, I feel like you've brought other streamers or you've helped like sign.
I definitely have been like a double agent, I'd say, of like, hey, you should sign these people, and YouTube let me go to them and say, oh, you should sign with YouTube, or different events that they've hosted, getting people there or getting people energized at the events.
I think it's like, I'm just pointing it out because I've been around a lot of obviously content creators throughout FaZe and just the industry, and a lot of people have the opposite experience where sponsors, it is like the biggest headache to work with them. And like when you're making, so many people are making so much money, they don't care. So like, as crazy as it may sound, they may have this deal, but they might not even care about getting paid $50K for this random sponsorship. They look at it as an annoying thing, right? I think it's, for creators that are out there that want to be streamers or whatever, to learn from Courage and how he did it, like that's definitely the route to go. No matter how cool you think you are, how much money you think you're making, to be respectful always goes a long way. And to, I think being able to re-sign multiple agreements with sponsors, that's amazing. And and again, like that is you put in the work to do that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That's
thank
not you have to build that relationship. You have to build that respect and give your all. I think that's that cool lesson for me too. Honestly, you going above and beyond like that.
Yeah.
Going to YouTube shoots and stuff like that. Like, you know, it goes a long way. So it's really cool to hear.
No, thank you. And one of the questions I got from someone on my stream today was like, I just turned 18, or no, it was a random duo actually. Random duo recognized me, and he was like, "Yo, it was a great question." He's like, "I've just turned 18. Well, what advice would you give me?" And instead of the normal 12-year-old that might be thinking, like, "Courage, no way!" I'm like, I'm having a great conversation with this guy. And one of the pieces of advice that I gave him, because I kind of just went on a rant for a few minutes because I love the question so much, was 99% of people just want to work with other people that are enjoyable to be around.
Yeah.
Like socially adept, wanting to be helpful and be a great version of themselves. Like I would argue that you would be 90%, have a 90% advantage over other people by just being enjoyable to be around, being respectful, being reliable and hardworking. And it's like, that's it. Like that will get you in more doors and have more opportunities than you could ever imagine.
100%.
And that's kind of been the core of how I've always tried to be.
It's great advice. It's really good advice. I mean, I know that's where I'm at in life. Like, I only want to work with people that I feel like are good people at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the more experience you get, and there are the bad
You have
people
less and
that
less
slip
patience
through.
for it.
Yeah. It's good advice. Are there any big sponsors that you turned down that you, I don't want to say regret, but okay, like the Facebook thing, it's very interesting. Like that's interesting. It's interesting to see that thought process. And now I'm sure you got maybe some gambling or crypto stuff that you maybe didn't want to do, but you have any big sponsors that you turned down?
Yeah, I mean, all the NFT stuff, those were just easy to say no to. I think that there's some value in certain crypto things, like the main ones.
Yeah.
So I was never fully closed off to that, but just the right opportunity never came up. I'm not promoting any coins or anything. When it comes to, I was passionate and enjoy poker a lot. I had a poker opportunity that I said no to because it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
I've never been offered any of those gambling stream deals, but those would have been an easy no. Trying to think of any other. Some of them, because as you mentioned, they can be viewed as a pain point.
Yeah.
I actually remember getting to a point with that in like 2021 where I started to or 2022, where I overloaded myself. It was my own fault, but I started to view certain sponsored deals that in the past I would have been jumping for joy.
Yeah.
As frustrated.
Yeah.
And at that point I knew when I talked to my agents, like, we got to fix this now. So I just started to say no to more things, even though I liked what it was. Just, I need to make sure I'm putting my best foot forward for it. The only time I'm ever now really annoyed by a sponsor is if, I'm just going to put an example. Chipotle's been always great to work with. I have no means with Chipotle. I'm just using this for the example standpoint. If a company like Chipotle comes to me and they want a sponsored video or a sponsored post, and they're then telling me what they want the title to be, and they want the heart of the video to be, and this and that, you're going to be like, then what do you pay me for?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not telling Chipotle how to make their burritos.
Yeah.
Don't tell me how to get you views, right?
Yeah.
I want to know what's key for me to talk about with your product. But when it comes to a hook on a short or a video to get people to stay tuned in, or, if I uploaded a video and put the title like Chipotle's new burrito, #ad,
Yeah.
that video is going to fall flat on its face.
Yeah.
But instead, let me work my magic. Let's get an interesting title and thumbnail. Let's disclose the ad in the description and in the video when the time comes. But let's get people hooked on the video, get them in a couple minutes, and then show them the ad, because they're more likely to stay for the video. And if they're more likely to stay for the video, and the video gets shared, YouTube's algorithm push it to more people, and then more people see it, and boom, 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 cascades. So that's the only time I really get annoyed, is when a company pays me a lot of money to promote them, and then they're like, why don't you have the exact 6-letter or 6-word name of our headset in the title?
Yeah. I think people would be shocked at how incompetent some of these marketing teams are.
Truly incompetent.
It is actually the most frustrating thing ever. Like when you get an interesting even I'm thinking from the FaZe side, when I was speaking with the sales team and stuff, like we'd have like the coolest brands would come, coolest opportunities. Then you start brainstorming, you come up with the coolest ways to do the partnership, and it's like, no, we can't do it. We actually have to do it like exactly what you're saying. It is the most frustrating feeling on earth.
And then next thing you know, the deal doesn't work out well, and then they're less likely to want to re-sign, and they're less likely to want to work together in the future because it looks like it was a failed thing, and then you're less excited for the future, or you don't want to work. And I'm like, dude, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, it's very, very, very cool to hear kind of inside scoop of how you look at all that. I think you have a very, you referenced it earlier, maybe even when you're younger. Obviously, you just said you just turned 31.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
But, experience is showing, like, you're very wise, and you could see in the way that you kind of look at the whole field when you're making decisions. It's very impressive and inspiring. So congrats on all that success. Are there any investments that you've made outside of that you have a lot of money that you just spoke about coming in.
Yeah.
And other guests have spoke about real estate they did, or investments in what I don't even know what else. I can't even think of right now. But real estate's usually the one that a lot of people do, like Rug.
Yeah,
Roman
Rug I
Atwood.
talked to a lot.
Yeah.
With his stuff, and that would be I think what Rug's doing is, I mean, he's brilliantly smart. He's obviously built an empire. He's built himself the ability to, if Rug just went to a random place in the mountains, he would come back 50 years later way richer than he is now, right? Through what he's built for himself.
Yeah.
So I think from my end, I just wanted to know that, like, I viewed it as, if this is like a 10-year window where I'm all out grind business, this and that, or especially from streaming, I want this 10 years to pay for the lifestyle I want to have until I'm dead and my kids are, then get what I have.
Yeah.
So from my end, always invested right away early on. I've always been big on that. Learned from my grandparents, my uncle, how key investing is. So I worked with a financial group to invest my money and trust them to invest in the correct ways. Through your normal standard things. For me, I'd rather be a conservative investor with a high success rate to grow consistently than be like that guy who's like, 50K in this squiggly line NFT, bro, or 100K in this coin, it's gonna moon. Like, that has no interest to me. I'd rather the biggest thing still now at 31 I have on my time is, knock on wood, is time. Or on my side is time. And for anyone younger watching this, I even talked with Jason about an event I was with him recently of like, just making sure, bro, you're gonna be making a lot of money. Make sure you're investing it, bro. Because some of these guys are young as 20 again. Like, I remember starting at 20. I immediately started investing then, and it's been the greatest thing I could do. So I've got a good amount in the normal things you'd expect: ETFs, index funds, diversified, with the bonds, or with bonds and things to kind of offset a volatile market like we have right now and have had since the Trump administration. And then I own my home. Technically, while I view it as like the place I'm living, I guess that's technically investing in real estate. I could have made the decision to take that money, rent my house instead, and then go and buy real estate properties to own that. But instead, I'm just like, let me just buy my home. And so I don't own it fully outright because it makes more sense for me to have my money in the market. So with that, and then I've done like 5 or 6 angel investments. One of them I'm always really excited about is Backbone.
Okay, cool.
And the mobile gaming kind of controller and platform. They continue to crush it. Invested in a few other companies that I've never really made too public. But yeah, about 5 or 6 of those. So I would say, like, of the money I've made, let's just put it at 65%, 70% is in stocks and, your normal stuff. 27% is in my home and real estate things. And then the other 3% is like mixed between crypto and angel investments.
That's awesome.
I
after investing some money in more volatile things, I'm definitely team. There's an ETF that I put most of my investments in now, and just returns 5 to 8% a year. I saw some chart from 1900 till
that's it,
and it just shows how, like, through all the world wars, all the
there's gonna be down years,
but the average is 8%, I think, return.
And compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world.
And people think that it's just crazy because when you're thinking 10 years ahead, you're like, bro, I don't want to worry about 10 years from now. I want to like a lot of people think that way. But you just mentioned 2016 is 10 years. It's about to be 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You just mentioned it. What was that date when you started streaming?
January 1st, 2016.
That's when you started streaming, you're saying?
Yeah. Or like when I
full time.
This career that I built, that was when I started. Yeah.
So, like, that being almost 10 years, 10 years flies. Like, FaZe's anniversary is about to be 15 years this month. Right. Next month. And it's just like time, like, I'm realizing now, oh my God, time flies. And for people that think it's like a boring investment to put yourself in an ETF that's going to give you back 5%, like, that is going to keep growing.
It's tough too, because I think social media does a lot of negative to the new generation of, like, seeing these people. There's the outliers, these crypto guys who've done well, or this opportunity here. But, like, a lot of these people, you don't know where they come from, the money that they got inherited, and this and that. Like, in my opinion, the safe bet is being smart with your money. Building a side hustle is great. Doing that, finding supplemental income, I fully believe in that. That's what I've always done. But at the end of the day, it's like, dude, if you're 20 years old, you got some money and you could put some money into an account, do it, man. Go for it, do it, and start it.
I think the NFT crypto hype made people have unrealistic expectations of how much money.
Very unrealistic.
People were making 5 to 10x and they weren't happy about it.
Even now, like, a lot of these Fortnite kids, bro, when this when meme coins and stuff were blowing up a few months ago. If you remember that, like
Yeah.
there were meme coins everywhere, money symbol, whatever the hell you want to put in front of it.
Yeah.
I swear half the Fortnite community, next thing you know, they're meme coin traders.
Yeah.
And it's like they're posting their wins, but first they're not posting their losses.
Yeah.
And then guess what? All those meme coin traders, when the market tumbled,
No.
no one's posted about it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we doing, guys?
Yeah.
Come on. I'm trying to tell them, like, just do the safe thing.
Yeah. It's. I think experience is something you can't teach sometimes.
Yeah.
That's one of the
You got to
things.
fumble it a little bit. You got to get scammed in MapleStory like I did growing up to learn how to avoid getting
You
scammed
got
on the internet.
Because Cypher told us a story about how he got scammed
Oh, yeah.
in RuneScape.
Yep.
How'd you get scammed in MapleStory?
Just people, putting up an item that you think is, just like Cypher went
Same
through.
thing,
Same thing.
yeah.
It's all the same stuff, bro. Are you kidding me?
That's
you got
so
to
funny.
learn or NX scam. You think you're going to be buying NX to be able to buy money for like the real money shop. So you pay Mesos for NX. So like for a code to use. It's all BS. I remember paying a couple like millions of Mesos for some NX, and I'm like 13, and then I'm like, "Are you kidding me, bro?"
Yeah.
And then I,
Kidding me, bro.
got to keep my eyes out
That's
from then on
funny.
out.
Again, it's experience.
Yeah.
So congrats on a pretty successful career. Hopefully, like you said, you're at a pretty high point in it. It's not like you're not looking back. You're
No,
still,
I know. I'm
you're
still
still
in it.
very active, and with all the money that is coming in, going out. Obviously, a lot of times people maybe overestimate. Because there's things that we didn't talk about. I mean, you touched on it, but there's taxes, there's expenses for your team, and
Oh yeah.
it's not like all the money that's coming in you're necessarily keeping by any means. Are there any stresses that have come with all that money, with family or friends, or what kind of stuff have you seen on that side?
I've been very blessed to always be surrounded by great people. So when some people have the stories of like these people started coming asking for money or this and that, like I've definitely had a few dozen people that I maybe haven't spoken to in years send me a random Twitter DM, be like, "Can you help me?" Or a person on Facebook send me a random message asking if I can help. And, in my head, I'm like, I don't really know you at all and this and that. And I've definitely seen that come to light. But from my end, for my direct family, people that I love and care about, I've thankfully not had to deal with any of that, which has been a big help and has helped me stay mentally clear, I would say. When it comes to stresses from it, the benefit to doing so well is the taxes you pay. And obviously in LA is probably peak and get in America.
Yeah.
It's it hits.
Yeah.
But I've gotten through the tears from paying enough money to make me want to hyperventilate to now like hey, it's part of life.
It's part of life. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some people that don't take that L and they find every way to finesse it somehow.
Yeah,
I don't know how they do it, but
I can't be thinking like I'm gonna be like those celebrities that get caught and have prison sentences. Like I'll pay my taxes. I don't need to go to prison, bro.
yeah, I saw some lady on TikTok that was like a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Did some real estate fraud. I don't know what happened. It's literally a random mom. Like, just imagine, not your mom, but just imagine a mom. She went to jail for she missed, her kids were
Yeah.
in their right before the teenage years, and she went to jail for 5-6 years for some random real estate fraud. I'm like, dude, just imagine losing
can't.
years of your
Time
kid's
is-
life over that.
Time is the most important currency.
Crazy.
Always
It
make
is.
more money. Can't have my youth,
Yeah, no, that's respect it. That's cool. I'm glad you didn't have any necessarily negative experiences. What about with you have an older fan base that knew you from Call of Duty. You have the younger kids. So I'm sure everywhere you go, you're getting stopped by somebody.
Yeah.
So how is that like in your life? How has that impacted your life? Is that something that I'm sure I'm not gonna say there's no way you hate it. You're not gonna tell me you hate it, but
No.
are there any stresses that come with that?
Thankfully, I've built a very respectful audience. I think it's key. Certain people have to deal with it more or less, and I think a lot of it is how you approach it the moment it begins. I have a very respectful, positive audience. I think they respect my boundaries quite well. Sure, there's always going to be a bad actor here and there or a bad egg, but I've done the things necessary to make my home feel safe and secure, make my family feel safe and secure in my parents' home and this and that. So, I thankfully, knock on wood, don't really fear that. And when I'm out in public, it's not like I'm getting trolled. Some people are like, "Oh, yo, you're in Fortnite." I'm like, yeah, that's the worst I'll get, right? It's
Yeah.
like someone making a joke of my Fortnite skill.
Yeah. Okay.
But, some people said hate online, but then I get there in person and I've never had a negative experience like that, And thankfully, I feel like I've got the perfect amount of fame where it's like I go to a Yankee game or I go to these things and people be yelling my name and it's cool to take 50 photos at a Yankee game. But then I go out to eat at a nice restaurant and maybe a waiter will recognize me, and as I'm walking, I'm like, hey man, I just love what you're doing. Keep it up. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not MrBeast or this or that, right? So
Speed.
I get, exactly.
Yeah.
Nowhere near that. So I get recognized in public all the time, but I get recognized at like the perfect amount, in my opinion.
That's cool. And it's actually cool. Like you enjoy it.
I
think when I
love
was
it.
younger, I used to it used to bother me. I think if it bothered me, it's because I wanted to live like a Hannah Montana life, where I had like a private life that I didn't want anyone to bother me in.
Yeah,
because I lived in the New York house. I was like 18 to like 21, and
Fully deep in it all. Ways,
yeah.
You know?
So I'd be at like random places at like the mosque or like at like a funeral, and kids would. So it really bothered me at certain places that would be like, dude, just like people would make a scene. When people make a scene, it makes you a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think as I got older, like anytime someone comes, I literally love it now. It's a blessing, honestly.
It is.
For you to make someone's day, to run into someone in the most random areas and like, dude, I used to watch you, or they even watch your videos now. It is a really cool thing.
Quickly give them a video shout out or something.
Yeah,
or like, you know, my kid loves you and he's not here. I wish he was. Oh, you know, quickly make a video for him. It's like, that'll make that whole kid's life.
I know. I just got a haircut.
Yeah.
And the guy was waiting. He saw me inside the barber. And he's like, can you just like send a video for my friends? Like they made a clan.
Yeah, there you go.
I forgot what the name was. It was like something funny where it's like you could just tell it was just a group of friends having fun.
Yeah.
Like their name was spelt wrong because the guy had an accent and he used to say it wrong. It was just cool. Like stuff like that's cool. That's
it's
cool.
The best, man.
Have you had any moments where you kind of wish you weren't, like you wish you didn't have a spotlight on anything? Do you have any hard moments online where you went through something and like the extra attention kind of made it worse?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple times where I'm so sick of the internet, you know, and thankfully now I don't read TikTok or this or that. Like 6 months ago, I was like the most hated man on TikTok because Ninja started talking about we were on stream having drinks.
I've seen these,
and there was the whole what's harder 9 to 5 or streaming, and like obviously I think being doing a 9 to 5 job is harder than streaming, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed to do what I do.
Yeah.
But TikTok kids a lot of them haven't developed sarcasm. So in that clip, I'm like, oh, dude, being a streamer is way easier or way harder than being a 9 to 5 worker.
Yeah.
And like I do it like in a sarcastic voice.
Yeah.
And then this gets clipped, and you know how these clippers are, bro. They just start to share it everywhere and make up a narrative. And next thing you know, I'm the guy that thinks 9 to 5s are harder than or easier, whatever the hell. I don't even know what the damn is, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's so stupid.
Yeah.
And I remember I was reading like, dude, there was upvotes that were like 90,000 thumbs up. Like Courage is a fat.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, dude, what the hell? I have a great career where like all these people, I love people I work with. They love me. You know, I've had existing multi-year partnerships with this, everything, my community. And I'm like, one 20-second clip where people don't understand sarcasm, and boom.
That's insane.
I'm a loser. I'm this. I'm that. I'm a
No, you're right, because it honestly goes and the narrative builds. People don't see the part 2 where it was a joke, right? Or like,
it's insane.
When these people make clips on TikTok, man, they cause a lot of problems. They don't even realize. 90,000 thumbs up saying you're
literally
like. And by the way, like just that alone.
I remember I was like, why am I even on this app? Like, if I delete this app, they can TikTok. I don't even know what TikTok narrative or what narrative there is out there. When I was doing the FNCS Pro-Ams coming up, and my teammate Cold, I hadn't heard from him for like the first 4 days, so I was just making tweets.
I saw that,
right? I was just memeing. Like I knew he was going to hear from me. He had FNCS finals coming up,
so
he's practicing for that. The guy just won it, so it worked. But I'm memeing him. I'm like, day 4, not hearing from him. I have no idea that I had a couple times on stream where I talk about it. I'm like, Nick at 30, any advice? Like, what do I do to get my teammate to get my attention? Yeah, I haven't heard from him. And at one point I was like, you're not going to immediately like reach out or even be like, I'm excited. Like, why sign up for the thing, or just like let me know, like, hey, here's where I'm at.
Yeah.
But then again, these are Fortnite kids and they're younger and they're 17, 18, 19. And I have no idea that this whole storyline is being built on TikTok about Cold's rude, Cold's this. I'm so excited. The kid's the nicest guy. I'm so amped. I just didn't hear from him for 4 days.
That's so
from
funny.
like my little tweets. And I'm like, this is why I'm not on this, because it's all brain rot, bro.
Yeah. It happens on this show with Jev. And I had a gaming channel that I launched, and I keep saying, everyone's like, where's Jev? I'm like, I'm trying. He's not replying to me. But like, I'm not, I'm saying it. I understand why he's not replying. I was spamming Jev.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jev, I'm going to keep spamming until you say no.
Yep.
And whatever. I haven't talked to Jev in a while. And it's like, people are like, that's kind of messed up of Jev. I'm like, no, it's not messed up of Jev. That's who Jev is.
Yep.
As long as I've known Jev, this is exactly what I expected.
He's in his thing,
So I had to literally stop talking about it because, to your point,
people run with any
started
narrative they want.
saying
It's the
it,
same with the Booga.
Yeah.
The Booga, World Cup clip.
That's
and
funny.
it'll be, I'm sure I've said two or three things on here that are going to get clipped, and I'm just like, yeah, it's whatever.
It's funny. It's fun. It's part of the fun of the internet. But
Oh, come on now.
I think I'm gonna follow suit soon and get off TikTok.
Come on.
I don't have that problem you have, but I have the brain rot problem. We were talking about it off camera, and it really is like brain rot. I swear to God, I feel it for the first time ever. I understand why it's called brain rot.
100%.
I feel my brain is like literally
I can feel the holes in my
sizzling,
brain.
sizzling away.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna lie. I have very much enjoyed the gorilla versus 100 people
Man,
stuff on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Those tweets have been
So funny.
hilarious all week.
And Gorilla
but-
wins.
Gorilla wins.
Easy.
I saw some guy post today, actually, this long thread. He's like, he has some degree in like, I don't say degree in gorillas, but he said like a degree
That's a crazy degree.
No, a degree that specializes in like apes and primates or
Yeah.
whatever it was. And he put a whole thread. I think at the end of it, he's saying that they can only take on like 30 to 40.
Really?
So he's saying that
Wow.
the gorilla would lose, but
Okay.
I think the gorilla would win.
Damn. Gorilla degree.
But to kind of wrap it up, thank you. You've been very, you've shared a lot, which we appreciate. I think a lot of people learn a lot from this.
Hell yeah.
So thank you. How long do you think you're going to be online creating content for?
I hope to just keep going for as long as I'm having fun with it. I think in the coming years, I'm really just going to rip the Band-Aid off of just really try not to care at all about views and money and get the team to where it's like, guys, I'm just going to go into doing exactly what I want to do.
Yep.
And just be open and honest with them and where I'm at, I know when I have kids in the few years, I'm going to want to make them my number one priority.
Yeah.
And make it where I am able to be as present as I want to be. And I think I've built that for myself already, but I know I'm going to build towards that even more as the time comes.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, if it ever reaches a culminating point with my mental, like I don't like the way a lot of the algorithms are going on social media platforms. I think that now because they're no longer fighting for new users, they're fighting for screen time. And just like how 24-hour news was a mistake because you've got to sensationalize things and polarize things to keep people tuned in. A lot of times negativity and anger is what people engage with the most. And that's what that's what these social media platforms have become even more.
Rage bait, right?
Yeah, rage bait and all that. So I'm very much looking forward to a day where I'm not on the internet, but I'm not there yet.
Because there's some people I've interviewed like they never want to get off, or like Ninja, for example. To your point, I think he got to that point in his career where he just does whatever he wants. I don't think he cares at all about viewership or anything, and he still just loves playing video games. So he just gets on and plays and wants
I still
to
love
stream
it. Like if I really didn't care, I'd be streaming League of Legends right now 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I care too much, so I still play Fortnite.
So that might be what your future holds.
I will have a League of Legends and World of Warcraft arc where that's all I play to I don't care if it's 200 people.
Really?
That's
That's how I feel about Counter. In a perfect world, if I could just play Counter-Strike all day,
Yeah.
that's what I would do too. It's cool. Are there any, outside of content creation? I mean, you mentioned you have investments and stuff. Do you have any desire to build more businesses and do other things, or do you kind of want to just watch your money that you've invested grow and just kind of relax later in life?
I find a lot of fun in doing angel investments and being excited about companies from an early stage and seeing them grow. So I would be interested in more of that. Would want to get more into having some real estate opportunities. So I've done a little bit of that, but would like to do more. And then outside of that, just see what else comes up in this whole streaming space.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a Fortnite map in the works, which I've talked about. So releasing that'll be cool. But yeah, I think I've had some ideas in the past, what would a course look like a YouTube content creation course.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that passion kind of came and went, and I've had a couple other ideas here and there. But I think right now, just trying to make sure at the end of the day, look, I don't want work to be my whole life.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying the fact that I can just go to Japan for 10 days in May and my whole world's not on fire, or I don't need 12 approvals, or I don't need 50 people to wait on me to come back,
Yeah.
So
I think that freedom to just do what you want is what we're all kind of chasing.
100%.
To have that forever. You know? As it's very blessed to even have that opportunity. But congrats, you've done an amazing job in putting yourself in that position.
Thank you.
Wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully you can continue to do what you want and what you enjoy.
Thank you, bro.
And whenever you do hit the League of Legends arc, I'm gonna remember this, and I'm gonna see you do it. I'm gonna be knowing this guy's. You're at your peak right now.
He's at his sunset era, and who knows that sunset will be, but it's gonna be a damn good one. Yeah. Hey, thank you for having me, man. This was so much fun. Great, thoughtful questions, and you're just getting started with this, bro. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. You have a dream guest?
Dream guest? I don't know. That's a good. Maybe Habib. Got to get Habib on, the UFC fighter.
There you go.
Maybe that'd be pretty cool. Gotta get him. Right now, I'm just trying to. I was telling you before, it's hard to get guests, man.
It is hard to get guests. Hey, if you're watching this and you got a channel, you got a business, Get on here, bro. Apex
Bro,
wants
I'm-
you here. Reply to his DMs.
I was telling him I'm like spamming other streamers and YouTubers. Like, bro, I feel so lame DMing these guys, or like DMing their like agents and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I have to.
That's
if I
it.
want to get the show going, I gotta do it. But,
Of course.
So I appreciate you taking the time. I know you've had a very busy week, and I'm sure your life is very busy. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
Seriously,
brother.
appreciate it, and congrats and good luck. And we'll keep supporting you.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Chat soon, all right?
Yes, sir.